genre.
Hello and welcome back to The Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Nick Jimenez.
I'm Scott Corelli.
And I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
And today on the show we will be discussing both Aliens of London and World War III, the two parts of the Ninth Doctor's fourth story.
Which is written by showrunner Russell T Davies and directed by Keith Boak, or Bach, I don't know. And this episode, a couple of interesting things. So this is part of this episode was filmed in the first block with Rose, which I believe Keith Boak also wrote, directed. And what's interesting is they filmed it in the first block because, you know, they're both like contemporary London stories. But a lot of things went wrong with the story because, number one, so first of all, they shot this story actually. They sort of, in that block, they shot all three of those episodes sort of like all out of order. And so the first thing that they ever shot for the show was in this episode, not in Rose, which is interesting. But it's so they shot the whole thing, and then toward the end of it, Boak was running his production was just going too slow, and he needed more time. So they gave him more time. And he shot a little bit more, but then when they edited the stories together, they realized that they were about 20 minutes short.
Wow.
And so they went back during the third block and shot bonus material that included like stuff in Rose's apartment and in the TARDIS interior. So there's stuff like where he's tracking the spaceship that was added later, and then the stuff with Jackie sort of interrogating Rose in the kitchen that was added later. Things like that. So there was like a lot of just stuff that they just added in, you know, like two production rounds later. And then they also, like, all of the news bits, all of the stuff that they watch on the TV, because a lot of the TV stuff, you don't watch people watching it. You sort of like cut to the TV and you see it. Mm-hmm. All of that stuff was shot during the second block. So there was they just shot these episodes like all out of order and all over the place. It was kind of a mess. So there's that. And then what's interesting is that I guess the inspiration for this story and for the Slitheen clan were actually inspired by the Albertides, the family from Paul Cornell's novel Human Nature, which he would later adapt into an actual episode in Series 3. So, yeah, just the idea of like a family of bad guys. That was he kind of took that from he nicked that from Human Nature, and then also it was just in general sort of inspired by something called Quartermass in the Pit, which is like a 1958 science fiction serial. And then also, and that was for part 1, just like the idea of like everyone sort of dealing with this, the idea of like an alien.
Sure. What it means to them personally.
Right. The part 2, which was set, almost entirely at 10 Downing Street, which was actually the original title for the episode.
Which I kind of prefer.
Yeah.
I kind of dig it.
Yeah. World War III is just, it's too much, I think. It's overkill. And it doesn't really, I don't know. Like it doesn't really feel like the episode to me.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, kind of. There's like a million episodes that could have been called World War III.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. But yeah, so the part 2 was actually, of all things, was actually inspired by a Girls Aloud music video for the song Jump. Which
my God.
Yeah, which is the song that Hugh Grant as the Prime Minister dances to in Love Actually.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Damn it, guys, I'm so happy right now. That's the most on brand shit I've ever heard.
Yeah. So that's
Bravo, RTD.
That's what inspired everything in 10 Downing Street.
Oh my God.
Talk about being true to yourself.
They're like the girls of the titular Girls Aloud.
Of course,
they break into 10 Downing Street in the music video in the middle of the night, and then just sort of like walk around 10 Downing Street while like clips from Love Actually play. And I guess the thought process was just like, oh yeah, I want to have a Doctor Who episode where they run around 10 Downing Street. That seems fun. Mm-hmm. So
there it is. Here you go. Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. So
point A to point B.
Yeah. And then the final like interesting bit of trivia is that when Aliens of London and World War III aired, specifically Aliens of London, when Aliens of London aired, it was also the day that the announcement came that David Tennant would be playing the 10th Doctor.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yep.
That seems really early.
Not really when you consider, like, it didn't happen in the Christmas special. It happened in the finale of this season.
Yeah.
And we're about halfway through the season, so, makes sense. Because they had
That's sad.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I mean, everyone knew going into Rose that the show had been picked up for a second season and that Eccleston wasn't returning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So everyone already knew with the first episode that Christopher Eccleston would be regenerating at the end of the season.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Wow, he just already knew.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he hated working on the show because he didn't like the crew and he hated Russell T Davies. So,
but hadn't they worked together before? Like that's why he hired him in the first place, or he was hired in the first place.
Is that right?
Yeah, he was in I don't know what it's called. That it's like a Jesus parable thing in modern day, and isn't that by Russell T?
I don't know.
Oh,
I haven't heard of that. I'm not sure. I am unfamiliar with that, but in any event, like he just didn't like his take on Doctor Who. He was excited about the Doctor and what he had done, what he had brought to the new dimensions that he had brought to the Doctor as a character. But then like the program as a whole, the tone of the show and everything, he was not a fan of. And expressed his concerns, and Russell T basically shut him out. And so he left.
That sucks.
Yep.
It's so funny. You say problems with the tone, and my brain just flashes with images of this episode.
Yep.
And
go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, just like, and again, no disrespect to Christopher Eccleston as a actor or as a performer. I don't, he does a terrific job in this show, and stuff that isn't this show. But yeah, I mean, this is such a specific flavor of television that, I mean, it's just so silly that, yeah, I can see a certain kind of actor not being into that or not seeing the fun in that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I just want to get this part out of the way so that I can talk about all the stuff that I do like.
Well, better out than in.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh.
No AO. I hate all of the farting is the stupidest thing, and I don't think the Slitheen are scary, and I don't think they're particularly interesting, and I think that the performances by all of the actors playing the Slitheen in this episode are, for me, just some of the worst acting of this show. I think they're terrible.
What longtime dueling genre listeners may know, but if you don't, Scott Corelli, not a fan of the fart joke on the best of days.
No.
So
no, I'm not. I've just never thought farts are funny. I don't understand what's funny about them. It's like, oh, they make a noise. I don't know. And
they've become synonymous with you in my mind. Every time I see something like a fart joke, I just like, oh, Scott would hate that. And so this was a delight for that.
Oh my goodness.
So because my issue, I guess, with the farting aliens, like, it's one thing, like, there's a way to do this that I don't want to use the word tastefully, but there is a better way of doing this fart joke. Because, okay, the concept of the farting is that it's a gas exchange, something to do with helping them breathe or make space in their skin suit or whatever. So, like, I understand that. Why are they laughing? Like, why do they know what farts are? Why do they think they're funny?
Yeah, like
they're not actually farting, so why is that funny? Like, there's a version of this where they're not laughing, like they're just doing it and they're not
just like
laughing.
Playing it straight.
Yeah, and everyone else is just like, "Are you serious? Are they just like farting in the middle of our cabinet meeting?" That is better, I think, than them all just like farting and cackling and talking about their booties, and it's just. It is some of it. I mean, arguably, it is some of the worst writing that Russell T has ever done. It's just awful. It's just gleeful in its stupidity, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
It is. It's Doctor Who. I mean, like this would be a silly episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Didn't they come back for
right?
The
Slitheen
Adventures?
Become like, I think, the main like antagonist of like the first season of.
Well, of course, they were made for that show. They disguised themselves as like big, portly, interesting looking adults that like fart and giggle, and then reveal themselves to be like kind of like strong sad, like these big weird kind of pot bellied. Yeah, no, just such weird. I mean, memorable, I guess, but like, I mean, I can think of the Slitheen quicker than I can think of like the Fisher King, but God, at what cost? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I think they're truly awful. I really do. But this is gonna be one more thing.
Okay.
One more bad thing, and then we'll just stop talking about how awful they are.
We'll try.
We'll try. I'll try really hard, everyone listening. The cliffhanger to episode 1 being a silent but deadly joke is one of the worst. Nothing about that makes sense. Number one, I don't understand why they know what farting is, which I've already brought up. 2, not only do they understand what farting is, but they can make a silent but deadly joke. They haven't even been on the planet for like 12 hours.
That's not true.
Isn't that what the crash landing is? Isn't that what they arrived in?
No. They've been there. They've been there for like months.
Oh. Okay. Well, in any event.
Point.
Silent but deadly joke is a step too far.
Sure.
And it's just like I honestly believe that if this is an example of a writer who made it based on the talent of their writing, absolutely, and then got into a position where they could do whatever they wanted, and they just write garbage that would not, if they were not already a professional writer, that everyone would be like, this is awful. This is really, really bad. Don't let anyone read this. This is terrible. Like, I just can't imagine these things in a script. That's how bad they are. Where I'm just like, I just can't imagine reading a script with these fart jokes and just being like, yes, a professional writer wrote this. It's insane to me.
Yeah, like I'm imagining now, like Christopher Eccleston at the table read.
Yeah, and just being really just getting more and more uncomfortable.
Like, I don't belong.
Yeah, I can understand why he was put off if this was like one of the first stories that they worked on.
Yeah,
because
especially after how great Rose is.
Yeah, because this is easily the weakest story of the bunch.
Mm-hmm. And I almost wonder if there's some blame to be had on the side of Keith Boak, because arguably the most silly, like, kid show bad stuff are in his 3 episodes.
Mm.
Because like all the stuff with
turning into the trash
yeah,
can
yeah,
monster.
Yeah. yeah. And Mickey being like pizza, all of that, all of that crap. That's all Keith Boak. So I wonder, did he direct ever again on this show after this? No, he didn't. Good.
I don't believe so. I didn't recognize his name at all.
And
when I was rewatching this, it's
such a shame because you look at those episodes and those moments that we were just talking about, and it's so completely not the show that we've all became in love. We've all fallen in love with over this past decade. Mm-hmm. And you kind of look at Christopher Eccleston, and it's like, well, like that's not really the hand he was dealt,
right?
Which is a shame, because it's like maybe he would be more warm to the idea of returning if he had more of kind of those moments and those stories.
Yeah. And I think at a certain point, I think Russell T knew that he was making Christopher Eccleston uncomfortable and knew that he was going to leave, and then just started doing things that made him even more uncomfortable.
Yeah, just like committed.
Yeah. Like if you think about it, like the game show episode, with like him in the Big Brother house and stuff, like that's all really goofy too.
Oh, but I love that stuff.
No, I mean that's fine, but I'm talking about from the perspective of Christopher Eccleston, of just like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. Like, what is this? I don't know. It's it's weird, and it's the Slitheen are not good. That being said, again, the sequel to this is one of the best episodes of the season.
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, fart free.
Probably. That's probably why you like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. This is I'm just getting flashes of what's her face like farting and squatting and shaking your butt.
Just kind of dancing, doing a little butt fart dance.
Ugh, awful. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, like what was directing that like?
What's that? Oh, I don't know. But yeah, okay. Done talking about that. All right. So let's talk about the good stuff. Because all of the character stuff in this is just everything that you love about the Russell T Davies era.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, it's so good. From Go, coming back and Rose thinking that she's only been gone for 10 minutes. And then the doctor realizing that he made a mistake and that, they've been gone 12 hours. And then he made a mistake and that they've been gone for 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Is fun. I wonder what the process of coding the TARDIS is. Like, where did he drop the 0? I don't know. Or add a 0 or something. But
is this one of the first times that this happens in like New Who? I mean, it would become such a staple later on.
Definitely in New Who.
Mm-hmm.
The TARDIS has made mistakes in Classic Who.
Constantly.
Constantly. But it's usually not something like this. It's usually
She's
not
good
a
at her
time
job,
thing, right? Usually it's like a placement thing. Like, I thought I was going to London at this time. And then, no, we're somewhere else now.
Oh my God, we just talked about it. The visitation. Because
right.
he wants to drop Tegan off at the airport, and he goes to where Heathrow is going to be, but he's like 3 centuries early.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
Poor Jackie.
It's a dark move. And it's really like interesting, realistic approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the reason that I'm so annoyed by Mickey most of the time is because I tend to skip this episode, and so
yeah.
I don't see that, like, there was a year where everyone thought he was a murderer.
Yeah.
Because of this idiot in the blue box.
Yeah, and because Jackie just pulled a total like Gone Girl, like the best friend in Gone Girl.
I
was like, hey, I know he did it.
Right, yeah.
No,
but you understand
Jackie.
Also,
Yeah, of course. Like what else was she supposed to one of the things I really do love about both parts of these, and I think it's the kind of the secret sauce of this season of the show and this era of the show, unfortunately, is Russell T Davies just has such a point of including Doctor Who in the context of like blue collar working class England.
Mm-hmm.
And this is such a show that has its eyes on like the streets and the neighborhoods and how are regular people reacting to this. And it's just so interesting because the deeper I get into this quagmire, this one beautiful maze of a show is I get to see how unprecedented that was. And it really was like a new angle on the show that no one had done before. And I think it's at its most useful in these 2 episodes.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a bit here with there's a few bits that all kind of connect to like a really nice sort of overarching canon theory about the Doctor that I like. I mean, you watch this and you know that Russell T didn't know anything about, like the War Doctor or any of that. Because that's all a Moffat sort of retcon.
Right.
But it's interesting that, when Rose asked the Doctor, how old are you? And he says 900 years old. I like the idea that, because like later, I think the 10th Doctor says that he's like younger than that or like barely older than that. And then like the 11th Doctor says he's like the ages are always all over the place.
Right.
And Moffat has always been like, oh, the Doctor lies. Okay, whatever.
Like a PTA mom.
Yeah. But what I like about it in the context of like the overarching mythology of the show is that the Doctor doesn't know how old he is now because he refuses to count the years that he was the War Doctor, and so he's lost track.
Oh yeah, it's
and I really like that. As again, not something that Russell T would have any idea, any inkling of knowing,
right
here, but as a viewer and someone who wants to make sense of the show as a whole, that works as a retcon for me, and I like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's sort of like he disassociated during that period.
Right. it just makes the age problem work for me in a way that no other explanation has ever done. I think
when he was busy bringing the Hurt,
right,
John Hurt.
That was beautiful. Speaking of bringing the Hurt, the other thing that I like about that is that, as we know, the Ninth Doctor is fresh off the Time War, and he has a way with soldiers in this story that I found really interesting. That's sort of like when he accidentally walks into that room of soldiers and they all point their guns at him, and then he's just like, you lot follow me, and they're just like, I guess he's our new leader now. Okay,
right. Like what else can we do?
Yeah, we'll just start taking orders from this guy. I like that he's sort of, he's pulling the Hurt, if you will, and just taking control of the situation and sort of pulling up that sort of war doctor-y mentality to take control of those soldiers. It's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
As far as the continuity thing, though, because he sees like this no-name like unit person on the security camera or whatever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy." But when would that have happened? You know what I mean? Because the Eighth Doctor was off doing whatever the Eighth Doctor was doing, and then the War Doctor was busy.
Loving.
So I don't know.
The Seventh Doctor dealt with UNIT often.
Yeah.
He loved those guys.
Yeah, so I assume probably Seventh Doctor related. Like maybe he was maybe that person was like a private when the Seventh Doctor was
in the
was bumming around
or
Earth.
Whatever.
Yeah, and then
I love
later.
I love the idea of Sylvester McCoy just chilling in the mid-90s with his sweater vest.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Gradually letting his hair get longer,
kind of shaggy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Riding that rabbit sleigh.
Oh my god.
Through the 90s. Listening to Public Enemy.
Oh my god.
Going Lilith Fair.
This episode also starts the sort of ongoing.
Oh hell yeah! Let's do this.
Oh, okay.
No.
What do you think I'm going to say? Because I bet I'm not going to say what you thought I was going to say.
Oh, okay. Well, you go now.
No. What were you going to? What?
I thought
yours is obviously more interesting. You're really excited about it.
I thought we were going to talk about our favorite, our favorite public servant of Britain.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Let's talk about her.
Well, now I feel weird.
You're the one that burst into the room.
I thought we were simpatico, but we weren't.
Well, okay, let's talk about Harriet Jones because Nick and I are talking about her a lot on Shaun of the Dead Cornetto Minute.
Yeah, Penelope Wilton.
Yeah, which was actually that came out a year before this, which is weird to think about because of how old this looks. Yeah. Shaun of the Dead was released in 2004, so they shot it in 2003. This is 2005.
What the F?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's amazing what different quality cameras can do to the age of your thing.
Yeah.
But no, Penelope Wilton is just a delight in this episode, and if we were doing this minute by minute, we could go. She makes total Barbara faces, in both parts of these. Oh, yeah. And I don't know, Harriet Jones is just such a brilliant character, and just something that I don't know. Whenever people want to dismiss Doctor Who is just it's nerd crap. I'm like, no, but Harriet Jones is a great character. I don't know, and she has such a tragic arc. And I think right now in 2017, I think this isn't even. She's even more. God, the internet would freak out if Harriet Jones came out today.
I think what's really interesting about her is that, and about her performance, is that she's not really that different from Barbara, but she's completely different from Barbara.
Yeah, like I love how she is, how Harriet Jones, the character, doesn't shy away from being a nurturing or maternal figure or person, but is still like, but doesn't also like that doesn't have to mean weakness, you know.
And she's also very polite. She has manners,
and kind.
You know, like both times she says the word fart, she apologizes. And
she's
then
just so decent.
And then there's that bit where she, where the doctor like passes her the alcohol, and she goes, "You pass to the left first." And he's like, "Oh, right, sorry."
Yeah, or like when they both kind of got the same Hannibal reference.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like Harriet Jones in this episode specifically because she is at the same time very out of place, but also like right at home with what's going on. Like she, I don't know. Like she's very like, you know, stiff, like British, like very restrained and polite, but she's able to like roll with it with what's happening too. So I love, man, she's so good. She
catches herself saying Slovene.
Yeah.
She's like, oh God, I can't believe I'm saying that.
Just talking about this like it's normal. No, she's great. And you watch this episode and you're like, oh man, I can't wait for her to be prime minister. And I think my biggest issue is that, you know, next time we see her, she is prime minister. And then the doctor immediately takes that away from her. And like, there's that bit in this when he says like, oh yeah, she's future prime minister. She was prime minister for 3 terms. And I'm like, no, she wasn't.
Because wasn't she like at the height of her power or whatever when the Christmas thing happens?
I don't know how far in advance that is. I always assumed it was only like 9 months from now, tops. Whatever the following Christmas is.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, the idea that that's after 3 terms of her being prime minister is pretty crazy.
Because if that's the case, then what the doctor says about her makes a lot more sense. Like it's still like super problematic, and I never have liked it. But like,
sure, yeah.
I think that, you know, if she's already served 3 terms, it's like Churchill. Like, you know, like Churchill's like not at the height of his power, and then he comes back, and everyone's like, ugh, that's, you know, like maybe we shouldn't have. So I don't know.
Yeah, I love The Crown.
I don't know.
Maybe
because
that'll. I was gonna say maybe it'll clear up when we watch that episode. Like,
that's right.
Yeah, no, I kind of want to go back because I know that was also written by Russell T. So I don't know if he would be not careless enough, but like not aware enough of what he had already written to not go back and you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Check.
I'll watch it around Christmas time.
It definitely stuck out to me as a weird moment of
like a self-sabotage.
Where it was like, oh, you really respected this character, and then you suddenly don't, like, you know, 9 episodes later.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. But it could also have something maybe to do with the fact that like Russell T is like trying to show the ways in which the doctor changes between regenerations, or it's like Eccleston really respected her, but Tennant doesn't. Maybe.
Well, I think that if we go with the whole like war doctor thing, Eccleston would be more proactive and okay with violence in some cases, whereas Tennant's like, nah. Right.
And just in general, I think Eccleston in this, it's just so, his doctor is so unlike any other Eccleston role I've ever seen him in.
Yeah.
And I wish he would do something with a character that has a similar tone to the doctor at some point. If he's never going to play this part again in a whatever, a reunion episode or whatever, anniversary special or a Big Finish something, I would really like to see him play a more lighthearted character again, because it's so nice. It's just really nice. Like, seeing him sort of take over the cabinet room or whatever, like the press junket room, and just being the Doctor and just, just sort of like talking his way through the problem and just sort of not even really commanding the room, because he's not doing it in like a
performance
in a way that's commanding. It's just like he's just a commanding presence because he's interesting. And I don't know, I just really love Eccleston a lot, and I just wish there was more of him. I really do.
I found myself really noticing how just kind of simply chuffed he was at the beginning when he thought that he was seeing like First Contact.
Yeah.
Like he was so comfortable, just like, no, I'm just gonna hang back. Like I was happy to be here. It's just like, that's interesting. Like, that's not really a tune we hear from this character a lot,
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that First Contact idea, it starts an ongoing trend in Russell T Davies' era about how the like London and Earth in general should be fully aware of aliens, but every time he solves the problem, they all choose to pretend it never happened.
Right.
Which is, in retrospect, it's just like a really weird move, Russell T. Like way to find a way to like kind of have your cake and eat it,
I want to do it again.
Yeah. Right. Oh, First Contact again.
It's like he only likes the first 30 minutes of any movie.
Yeah.
It's like, I only like the parts where it's a bunch of different people finding out about the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do that.
And sitting around and watching the news and talking about the news.
Different
and talking
real
about how
life.
it's going to change everything.
I like making real life TV people say fake things.
I really like people to talk about how things are going to change. I don't actually like changing them.
This will remember the thing where it was the whole world was waiting for like Barack Obama's speech that was going to like fix the economy.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I just remember being like, this is going to be a weird one.
Was that End of Time?
Yes,
I think
it was.
so. Yeah.
Oh man. And speaking of the world politics, I like the fact that he not only do we jump forward a year in time so that we can have the whole drama in that and Rose being missing, but then we also get out of that sort of a comfort in the British political system not being the one that viewers knew, because this is a year in the future. There's that, they have that line where he's just like, who's the prime minister? And she's like, I don't know who anyone is. I've been gone for a year. And it's a really clean way of not having to worry about that.
Yeah, it's very smart.
Yeah.
Because it makes it like timeless almost, because it's not tied down to like, oh yeah, this is the president and this is who's in power.
Yeah, it's sort of when you displace a character like that, whether it's like Marty McFly not knowing about the 50s, just like the audience, it's just kind of a way to endear us to them, and it's like a trick to make your thing both of the era and like out of it in a very kind of clever way.
So one of my favorite scenes, I think, in the in this two-parter is the bit where the Doctor is trying to figure out where the Levine are from, and he has Harriet and Rose sort of regurgitating facts that they know about them to him, and he keeps saying narrows it down. I really like that scene because it's it's a very doctory scene. Like the idea that he has an encyclopedic knowledge of every planet in the universe.
Yeah.
Is awesome. I just love that.
And he gets like this manic look on his face. Like you can tell he's like a computer running a program or something behind. It's great. I love that scene.
Oh, it's so good. And then we get our first instance of Raxacora cephalopatorius, which is just the greatest name for a planet. I just love it. And the way that he says it, where he's just so excited, and he just said the most ridiculous, I mean, he might as well have said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Because it's just a complete nonsense word, and he's so excited that he knows it, and it's, I don't know, I really like that. Also, listeners of the Cornetto Minute will appreciate this. So at the end of this, after they solve the problem, we have that bit where Jackie is like, oh, like, let's have the doctor over. I'll make shepherd's pie and we'll eat and we'll have a little something to drink and we'll talk and I'll figure this guy out and see if I'm cool with you hanging out with him.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose invites the doctor over and says, my mom's going to make tea.
Yeah. And
I had always, while watching this, I was like, oh, I guess she's going to make tea with the shepherd's pie. But I until we did Cornetto Minute and we had British listeners letting us know, I had no idea that tea was another word for dinner.
Oh yeah, it's like the evening meal.
Yeah,
well, we didn't know that.
Oh,
we did not know that.
That's funny.
And this is the first time watching this that I was like, oh, I know what she's talking about now.
So thank you, listeners of the Cornetto Minute.
Yes.
I will say that the first couple times that I saw this, I thought that Harriet Jones was a journalist, but then being able to, like, I don't know, maybe I've just watched a lot of British stuff since first watching this. So when she says MP, I'm like, oh, she's a politician. She's not a journalist. And then everything just made so much more sense.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my tea moment.
Yeah. Well, I think she definitely has a journalistic sort of Lois Lane vibe about her. Yes.
Well, she just kind of has that sort of Jimmy Stewart, like Judy
digging
Hopps
for the truth. Kind of.
Yeah.
No,
this is the fantasy. This is who we wish all elected officials could be like.
Mm-hmm.
That's very true. And going back to Mickey, I think Mickey is really good in this story. I love how quick he is to forgive Jackie because he's he's very relieved that Rose is okay, and he doesn't blame Jackie for the way she treated him because he blames the doctor for taking Rose away. Like, he knows what happened to Rose. And so he doesn't blame Jackie for thinking that he murdered her. He doesn't appreciate it, certainly. But he also he also understands and
he sees that
sort of
both
forgives
victims.
her for it,
Mm-hmm.
I like that. What were you saying, Nick?
Yeah, just that they both, he kind of sees that they're both victims of this, fantastical, larger than life event.
Mm-hmm. And I like Jackie's reaction to the TARDIS, which is to like run home and call the police. Which is
like a normal person. Well, maybe not a normal person, but like your daughter just showed up after being missing for a year, and then there's like this giant alien box. Like, I'd be freaking out.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. I like that the government knows who the doctor is. I think that's really good. So that when she calls the police, they're like, "Oh, the doctor's here," because of the keywords. I think that's pretty good. And then the bittersweet 10 seconds thing at the end.
Oh my goodness,
heartbreaking.
Yeah, I really like how and again, it's a credit to Russell T Davies, and not literally, but where he's pointing the camera, I guess figuratively, is the show really lets the audience feel with Jackie at the end. Like you kind of feel like the doctor especially is kind of being callous and a little bit cruel, and the audience, as much fun as we're having with the fantasy, it's interesting that the episode does put it in another context and like, look, this is having consequences, and it's hurting people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I like that that the doctor is ready for, he feels like Mickey really proved himself and was like, why don't you come along? And he's like, I can't do what you guys are doing. I can't handle that. That's too much for me. And he's like, but don't let anyone know. And so he just sort of like pretends that he's putting his foot down. There's a mutual respect between Nine and Mickey that I really like, that I don't think exists between 10 and Mickey.
Yeah.
Well, 10 just doesn't care about him.
No. And it's because he has this stupid romantic crush on Rose that is dumb. And it's just, I don't know. And I do think that Mickey suffers a lot in series 2 as a character. I think that he becomes like a lot more whiny and just not good in series 2. And so, as we'll see in next week's episode, it's sort of the beginning of that, the tin dog Mickey, the tin dogification of Mickey.
Aww.
Oh, speaking of which,
yes, indeed. Any other thoughts about Aliens in London, World War III?
I know that earlier you said that this is some of his worst writing, but I think it's really fascinating that, like, it might be some of his worst, but I think it's also some of his best as far as like the character stuff. So it's kind of a wild ride.
It's a mixed bag, to say the least. It's like a mixed bag of just like the most rotten apples and the best apples you've ever tasted. And you don't know which apple you're gonna pull out, but you have to eat all of them.
It's like Birdie Bot's every flavor beans.
Yes. Oh my God. That's exactly what this story is.
Alas, earwax.
Oh man.
It is a bunch of fun though. Like it's so campy, and I definitely don't walk away being like, man, I'm so mad I watched that. I'm always like, what a bunch of goofballs.
All the stuff that I like in this, I really, really love. It's just that the other stuff I hate with every fiber of my being. But one other thing. The Asian doctor lady.
Yeah, what happens to her?
That's the Torchwood lady, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
okay.
Snap. Okay.
Yeah.
Sato.
Okay. That's what I thought. All right. Yeah.
I guess that's what happens to her then.
No, I've never seen Torchwood, but
Torchwood.
Amazon told me while I was watching the episode.
Oh. Okay, fair enough. That's what happens when you watch it on your laptop. You get that bonus material.
Mm-hmm. And they never bring any of it up.
I think overall I do enjoy this episode fine. It's just that the terrible taste of the farting aliens that just lingers. And I also think that just in general, this doesn't need to be a two-parter.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of chuffa in this that you could cut out, because their plot, like their evil plan, is just so needlessly complicated. To like a ridiculous degree, where I just, if you cut out all of that, you make it simple, you cut out all the fart jokes, this is a really, really strong, part one to eventual, two-parter with the, later in the season. As it stands, as a two-parter on its own, it's I just don't think it's enough to sustain an hour and a half. There's just not enough here to fill 90 minutes, I don't think. And I think proof of that is that they had to go back and reshoot stuff, and the stuff that they reshot, that they added to it, was the better stuff.
Right.
Like, it was the stuff that I liked more. And yeah, I think if I ever got a wild hair up my ass, I could totally see myself taking this episode and cutting it down to like a 50 minute episode, and like a single episode, and being like, yeah, this one, this is it. I'd really like to see if I could do that and make something cohesive and a little more watchable than I think a lot of this is. So I don't know.
Nice.
Could give it a shot sometime. I think that's all I got for this.
Yeah, I'm good if you guys are good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah. Well, if you want to visit us online, you can go to duelinggenre.com. That's where we live on the internet. It's where you can find links to all of our shows. If you want to shoot us an email, contact at thedoctorscompanion.us. We love hearing from you guys. Tweet us at TDCpod, and listen to all of our other podcasts. And special thanks to our Patreon associate producer, Ed Foster. And we'll see you next time with, I think, all three of one of our favorite episodes of the show to ever happen, School Reunion. Who's a Good Dog? We'll see you guys later.